Pause for a moment. Before you continue scrolling, I have a question that will permanently alter your worldview. Do you believe that being virtuous guarantees your safety? Are you convinced that kindness is a shield, that generosity fosters loyalty, or that honesty commands respect? If you said yes to any of these, you are on the verge of uncovering the most perilous falsehood society has ever sold you. The most significant error people make is assuming that being good equates to being safe. But here is the harsh reality. Goodness acts like a fire. It can consume everything you've worked for, your relationships, your career, your aspirations, all of it. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this. He observed virtuous leaders fail. He saw compassionate rulers overthrown. He witnessed generous individuals betrayed by the very people they aided, and he documented it all. Today, I will reveal his concealed truth, the startling price of goodness that remains unspoken. In the following minutes, you will discover why your virtue is actually rendering you vulnerable. Why people don't value your kindness, but instead take advantage of it, and most crucially, how to convert goodness from your biggest weakness into your most potent asset. But first, let me clarify. I am not advising you to become wicked. I'm not urging you to harm others. I'm demonstrating how to be good with purpose and strategy, not naively. Because the fact is, in a world populated by wolves, acting like a sheep gets you devoured. Now, I want you to post this affirmation in the comments. I choose strategic goodness. Starting today, everything transforms. You will no longer employ goodness blindly. You will use it tactically. In this video, we will reveal why goodness does not always safeguard you. In fact, it often leads to your downfall. And we will learn precisely how to turn it into a foundation of genuine power. Let's begin with the first startling truth. Goodness as a liability. Consider the most benevolent person you know. Now ask yourself, are they truly respected? Or are they the one everyone contacts only when they need a favor? The truth is, being good makes you susceptible, not secure. When you are relentlessly kind, people begin to view you as predictable. They know you won't retaliate. They know you won't refuse. They know they can manipulate you because you are too agreeable to respond. You become the workplace pushover, the friend who always foots the bill, the relative who always agrees to help, even when it's detrimental to you. Let me share a story about someone I knew. He was the most capable team manager. He constantly assisted his team, made excuses for them, and always prioritized their needs. What was the result? Someone else was promoted over him. Why? Because agreeable individuals aren't perceived as leaders. They are seen as subordinates. People don't respect your goodness. They exploit it. Reflect on this. When someone is always ready to help, their assistance loses value. When someone never establishes boundaries, people will continually overstep them. When someone never shows assertiveness, people assume they have none. Your virtue becomes your flaw because it signals to the world that you can be exploited. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. You have been attempting to survive as a sheep in a world of wolves, and that is precisely why you continue to get injured. Post this affirmation in the comments. I protect my energy. The generosity trap. Here is a mind-bending concept. The more you give to people, the less they value it. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but stay with me. Generosity generates short-term praise. People applaud you, say pleasant things, and tell everyone how amazing you are. It feels incredible, right? But over time, a warped transformation occurs. Your generosity cultivates dependency, entitlement, and ultimately resentment. Let me elaborate. When you help someone once, they feel grateful. When you help them twice, they feel thankful. But when you help them 10 times, they start to expect it. Your extraordinary kindness becomes their new normal. If you ever cease helping, they don't recall the 9 times you agreed. They remember the 1 time you refused. Suddenly, you are the selfish one. You are the villain. Consider parents who constantly indulge their children's every desire. Initially, the children are thrilled and appreciative, but soon those gifts become anticipated. The new phone is no longer special. It's just what mom and dad do. And if the parents ever refuse to buy something, the children become angry and accuse them of being unfair. The same dynamic occurs in friendships. You always pay for dinner. You always provide rides. You always help with moves. At first, they appreciate it, but eventually they stop thanking you. They just assume you will handle it. And if you ever need a favor in return, they are suddenly unavailable. This is the generosity trap. You give endlessly until giving defines you. And the moment you need to receive, or even just stop giving, you become the antagonist in everyone else's narrative. Your constant generosity does not build loyalty. It builds addiction. People become dependent on your giving, and like any addict, they become furious when their supply is cut off. The psychology behind this is hedonic adaptation. Humans quickly grow accustomed to positive experiences. What once felt special becomes standard. What once felt generous becomes expected. Thus, your repeated acts of kindness gradually lose their impact. They become invisible because they are so commonplace. But your single act of refusal? That stands out. That is what people remember and complain about. This happens everywhere. At work, if you always stay late, it becomes your norm. No one acknowledges it anymore. But leave on time once, and suddenly you're not dedicated. In relationships, if you always compromise, compromise becomes expected. But stand your ground once, and you're being unreasonable. Machiavelli once said, "Benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better." He grasped a concept most never learn. Scarcity creates value, while abundance diminishes it. Post this affirmation in the comments. I give strategically. The facade of virtue. Here is an uncomfortable truth. Society values appearances over reality. People don't care if you are genuinely good. They care if you appear good. They don't judge your character. They judge your image. This means that to maintain power and respect, you must wear the mask of goodness while retaining control underneath. Observe the most accomplished people you know. Do you believe they achieve success by being genuinely pleasant to everyone? Unlikely. They succeeded by being intelligent about when, how, and to whom they display their goodness. They smile publicly and make difficult decisions privately. They show mercy when it benefits them and demonstrate strength when necessary. They recognize that the appearance of virtue is more powerful than virtue itself. This isn't about being deceptive. It's about being tactical. Consider a doctor who must perform surgery to save your life. Is the doctor being cruel? No, the doctor is doing what is required, even if it causes temporary pain. True leaders understand that sometimes being genuinely good means appearing temporarily harsh. Sometimes helping someone means denying their request. Sometimes protecting your team means making unpopular choices. The facade of virtue is not about deceit. It's about timing. It's about knowing when to reveal your compassionate side and when to show your resolve. Most people get this backward. They show vulnerability to enemies and strength to friends. Astute people do the opposite. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." He knew that perception shapes reality. If people perceive you as weak, you become weak. If they perceive you as strong, you become strong. Post this affirmation in the comments. I control my image. The economics of power. Every action you take has a cost. Every favor you grant, every time you agree when you want to refuse, every moment you spend aiding others instead of developing yourself. Most virtuous people never consider this. They give continuously until they are depleted, then wonder why they feel drained, bitter, and exploited. Here is what you must understand. Your time, energy, and resources are limited. When you expend them on others, you have less for yourself. Acknowledging this isn't selfish, it's mathematical. Unlimited kindness depletes your strength, And when you're depleted, you cannot help anyone, including yourself. Recall airplane safety instructions. They instruct you to secure your own oxygen mask before assisting others. Why? Because if you lose consciousness while trying to help someone else, two people need rescue instead of one. Life operates on the same principle. If you exhaust yourself helping others, you become someone who needs help, transforming you from an asset into a burden. Intelligent people understand that to survive and prosper, you must guard your resources and energy diligently. This doesn't make you cruel, it makes you sustainable. I learned this lesson through experience. For years, I agreed to every request, every favor, every quick question that turned into hours of work. I thought I was being virtuous, but what happened? I grew to resent people. I felt furious and bitter. My own projects suffered. My own dreams were delayed, and ironically, I became less capable of helping those who genuinely needed it. That's when I realized a critical truth. Saying yes to everyone means saying no to yourself. And when you abandon yourself, you ultimately abandon everyone else too. The most generous figures in history weren't those who agreed to everything. They were those who refused most things so they could consent to the right things in a significant way. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. You cannot command others if you cannot command your own time, energy, and resources. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead yourself." Post this affirmation in the comments. I protect my resources. Quote, the strategic application of virtue. I am not suggesting you become callous. I am not arguing that mercy, honesty, and generosity should be discarded. What I am asserting is that these virtues must be deployed like weapons, precisely and at the optimal time for maximum effect. A sword on a shelf protects no one, but a sword wielded by a skilled warrior at the right instant can save a kingdom. Your goodness should function similarly. When you assist someone, it should be deliberate. When you show mercy, it should be calculated. When you are generous, it should produce the outcome you desire. For example, instead of helping everyone minimally, help the right people substantially. Instead of being pleasant to everyone, be exceptionally kind to those who are important. Instead of agreeing to everything, consent powerfully to what aligns with your objectives. This method achieves three things. First, your help becomes more valuable due to its scarcity. Second, you create more significant positive impacts because you are focused. Third, people respect you more because you are selective. Consider the most revered leaders in history. Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't gentle with injustice. He confronted it forcefully. Mother Teresa didn't aid everyone globally. She concentrated intensely on the most destitute. They were virtuous people, but they were strategically virtuous. They used their virtue as an instrument to drive change, not as a method to be universally liked. How do you implement this? Before agreeing to any request, ask yourself three questions. Does this align with my values and goals? Can I do this without depleting myself? Will this person appreciate and respect my effort? If the answer to any is no, refuse, kindly but firmly. When you do agree, do it wholeheartedly. Give your best effort, create real value, and make a meaningful difference. This way, your agreements are significant, your help is memorable, and your generosity fosters loyalty instead of entitlement. Machiavelli once said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." He meant that sometimes keeping a promise to one person requires breaking a promise to another. Sometimes being good to your family means being firm with colleagues. Sometimes safeguarding your dreams means disappointing those who want to exploit your time. Strategic virtue isn't about selfishness, it's about effectiveness. Post this affirmation in the comments. I choose effective kindness. The illusion of gratitude here is a truth that will forever change your view of human nature. Gratitude is temporary. I know this may be painful to hear, but it's accurate. The favors you do for others, the help you offer, the sacrifices you make, They have an expiration date in people's memories. Repeated favors cease to feel like gifts and become obligations. What begins as "thank you so much" evolves into "you should do this," and then "why didn't you do this?" You help your neighbor move. They are immensely grateful. You help them again 6 months later. They are still thankful but less enthusiastic. You help a third time. Now they expect it. The fourth time they need to move, they don't even ask. They assume you'll help. And if you can't, suddenly you're the problem. This is human psychology. We adapt to positive treatment, we take it for granted, and we start perceiving exceptional kindness as standard. Ultimately, people recall the benefit they gained from you, not the kindness you demonstrated. This pattern repeats everywhere, in relationships, workplaces, friendships, and families. The person who always agrees becomes the person everyone expects to agree. The reliable helper becomes the automatic solution for every issue. And when that person finally sets a boundary or refuses, they are treated as if they've violated a trust. The more consistently kind you are, the less your kindness is valued. The more available you make yourself, the less special your availability seems. The more you give without expecting anything in return, the more people assume your giving costs you nothing. This is the illusion of gratitude. We believe that performing more good deeds will make people more thankful. But it actually makes them less grateful because they come to expect more. The individuals who appreciate you the most are often those you help the least frequently. Those who take you for granted are usually the ones you help most often. This doesn't mean people are malicious. It means they are human, and humans naturally adjust their expectations based on experience. Understanding this psychological reality doesn't mean you should cease being kind or helpful. It means you should be strategic about it. Set boundaries, make your help conditional occasionally, and let people experience what it's like when you aren't there to solve their problems. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. People see what you're doing now more clearly than they remember what you did before. Your past kindness becomes invisible. Your current actions are what they judge you by." Post this affirmation in the comments. I create lasting impact. Results over intentions. The world judges outcomes, not motives. You may have the purest heart and the best intentions, but if your actions don't yield the desired results, none of that matters. History doesn't remember those who meant well. It remembers those who achieved tangible outcomes. Let me ask you, would you rather be remembered as someone who was very nice but accomplished little, or someone who may have seemed stern but genuinely improved the world? Most choose the first option because it feels safer, but they fail to realize that being remembered as merely nice means being forgotten entirely. Here is a brutal but undeniable truth. Sometimes being truly good requires doing things that don't appear good in the moment. Superficial kindness often creates temporary comfort, while difficult decisions create lasting impact. A parent who disciplines their child isn't being mean. They are being good by imparting crucial lessons. A teacher who assigns tough grades isn't being cruel. They are preparing students for reality. A boss who sets high standards isn't being unreasonable. They are helping their team grow stronger. Real goodness is about results, not appearances. It's about generating positive outcomes, not just positive feelings. This is where most virtuous people err. They focus on being liked instead of being effective. They choose comfort over growth, and they opt for temporary peace over enduring positive change. But here is the truth. If your goodness isn't producing the results you want, you aren't being good enough. You're being nice, which is different. Nice people avoid conflict. Good people resolve it. Nice people tell others what they want to hear. Good people tell them what they need to hear. Nice people maintain the status quo. Good people drive positive change. The world is full of nice people who achieve nothing. What the world needs are more good people who deliver results. Machiavelli once said, "The end justifies the means." This doesn't mean you should commit evil acts to achieve good ends. It means that your good intentions are irrelevant if they don't produce good results. People don't inhabit your heart. They live with the consequences of your actions. So remember, genuine goodness requires courage. It demands that you prioritize outcomes over appearances. It requires you to stop asking, will they like me? And start asking, will this actually improve things? Ultimately, people won't recall your intentions. They will remember what you built, what you changed, and what you left behind. Post this affirmation in the comments. I focus on outcomes. Legacy and survival. Let's discuss what truly matters, how you will be remembered, and what you will leave behind. History doesn't honor the merely good. It honors those who survived, persevered, and transformed their circumstances into greatness. Reflect on this. Can you name 5 nice people from history? Probably not. But you can likely name 5 individuals who created lasting change, even if they weren't always agreeable. Steve Jobs wasn't known for being pleasant. He was demanding, a perfectionist, and often difficult. But he created products that transformed the lives of billions. I'm not advocating for meanness. I'm stating that being remembered for making a difference is superior to being forgotten for being agreeable. Here is what most people fail to grasp about legacy. You cannot leave a positive mark on the world if you don't survive long enough to make one. Survival in business, relationships, and life demands more than just goodness. It requires intelligence, strategy, and occasionally toughness. The kindest people cannot help anyone if they are crushed by exploiters. The most generous cannot give if they relinquish everything too soon. The most honest cannot speak truth if they are silenced by those who prefer falsehoods. You must survive first. Then you can thrive. Then you can build the legacy you desire. This means protecting yourself so you can protect others, building yourself up so you can lift others up, and becoming strong so you can aid the weak. It's not selfish. It's strategic. It's not cruel. It's prudent. It's not about abandoning goodness. It's about preserving it so it can genuinely make a difference. Observe the people who create enduring positive change globally. They aren't pushovers or people pleasers. They aren't afraid to refuse, set boundaries, or make hard choices. They understand that being good isn't about weakness. It's about being powerful enough to choose goodness when it counts most. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." What he truly meant is that respect is more important than affection. Impact outweighs popularity, and results supersede feelings. You don't have to choose between being good and being strong. You can be both. You should be both. But if you must choose, choose strength first, because strength empowers you to be good when it matters. Weakness merely makes you a victim, regardless of your intentions. We've covered extensive ground today, but let me conclude with the most vital lesson. Goodness without strategy is the most dangerous trap. It renders you vulnerable to exploitation, depletes your resources until you have nothing left to give, creates unsustainable expectations, and ultimately hinders you from making the positive impact you truly desire. But goodness with strategy becomes a weapon of survival and influence. It becomes an instrument for creating real change. It becomes the foundation for a life and legacy that truly matter. You now understand the shocking cost of blind virtue. You see why generosity can ensnare you, why gratitude fades, and why good intentions without good results are worthless. More importantly, you know how to transform your goodness from a weakness into a strength, how to be kind strategically, help effectively, and create outcomes that count. Before you finish, I want you to decide. Will you continue being good the old way, blindly, without boundaries until it ruins you? Or will you start being good the new way, strategically, effectively, and powerfully? So here is the decisive question that will shape your future. Will you allow goodness to weaken you, or will you master it and convert it into power? The choice is yours, but now you possess the knowledge to choose wisely. If this video revealed a new perspective to you, press the like button. If you want more truths that challenge your worldview, Subscribe to this channel and enable notifications. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share this video with them. Your goodness is not your weakness. When applied strategically, it becomes your greatest strength. Post this final affirmation in the comments. I master strategic goodness. Remember, in a world full of wolves, don't be a sheep. Be a shepherd. Someone who protects the flock not through weakness, but through wisdom, strategy, and strength. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.